Okay, continuing on with the review for test 1. Second part, problem 3 says we want to list the intercepts of this graph. So we're looking for points where the graph crosses either axis. So this intercept right here is going to be -4, 0. That's an x-intercept. This intercept is going to be a y-intercept, which is 0, 2. This intercept is both an x and a y-intercept. It's both an x and a y-intercept. That's 0, 0. This intercept is also a y-intercept, which is 0, -2. And the final intercept is an x-intercept, which is 2, 0. So we have 5 intercepts here. 2 that are only x-intercepts, 2 that are y-intercepts, and 1 intercept that's both x and y. So that's a list of the intercepts. Now if you notice, the intercepts all have 0 in one of their values. That's how you tell whether they're apart, and that's how you do it algebraically. In the second part of this question, it asks you to determine the intercepts. So in this problem, this is like also on one of the focus problems, we would take 0 and put it in for both the x and the y to figure out the intercepts. So to get the y-intercept, x is 0. It gives us the y-intercept. So we have 2 times 0 minus 3 times y equals 6. So y equals -2. That's our y-intercept. 0, -2. On our x-intercept, we do the same exact thing, but we put in y equals 0. So that gives us our x-intercept. So it's 2x. So on this value, it's 2x minus 3 times 0 equals 6. So we have 2x equals 6. So x is equal to 3. So our x-intercept is 3, 0. So that's how we find the intercepts, by plugging in 0 for either the opposite value here. Now, I didn't ask you to do number 8 on this review, but number 9 is done the same way. But in this case, we're going to have a couple x-intercepts. If we let y be equal to 0 to find the x-intercepts, we get x squared plus 2 times 0 equals 16. So we have x squared equals 16. We actually have 2 different x-intercepts here because we have to take the square root of 16, which there is going to be a +4 value and a -4 value for x. So our x-intercepts are going to be 4, 0 and or -4, 0. So we have 2 x-intercepts there because x is squared. Now there's only going to be one y-intercept, so if we do the y-intercept right here, let's see, it's going to be 0 for x, 0 squared plus 2y equals 16. So y is equal to 8. Our y-intercept is 0, 8 for this problem. So those are our 2 types of problems that I'm going to ask you to do, types of intercepts for just algebraically. All right, and then the next part of the review asks you to write an equation of a circle in standard form given this general form, and then write the center and the radius values for the equation. So in this problem, this was similar to a focus problem as well. We need to, what we call, complete the square. On both the x and the y values here, so that we can get it into a squared form. The form we want is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. That's the standard form of an equation. Completing the square is basically getting this information into a squared form, completing it into a square. So what we have to do here is take x squared and the x value and put them together, so these 2 values go together, and the y squared values, y squared and 4y values, go together, And then usually what I do is I add this 4 over to the other side. So I get 4 over here. That's my starting point for my radius. So now I've kind of gotten it so that I have the x squared. I'm looking at it in parts. I have this part, which is the x squared part, and I have the y squared part, which is this part here. And then over here on the right, I'm going to have the radius. So I'm kind of making it look like this form. Now, the process of completing the square is coming up with a number. I left some values here, or some spaces here. I need a number here and a number here that's going to make this something squared. Some x minus some value squared, or x plus some value squared. In this case, it's going to be minus because these are minus values here. If they were plus, they would be a plus value. So I need to create a three-term factor. I was saying 3 and then I was writing 3. A three-term factor that has x minus something squared in it. So I'm creating a trinomial that we can factor into x minus something times x minus something. So in real terms here, this is what we want to do. We want to create something that factors into x minus something. Same thing twice to get this value. So if we're looking at this, there is a formula to do this. The formula is you take half of this term and square it, and it goes here. So half of -2 is -1, and you square -1 and you get +1, and that's what goes there. But the factored form is always really just half of this number. So each of these have to have half, because in the FOIL, when we multiply, this is -1x and this is -1x, and that generates that 2x. So we're going to get the x minus 1 squared as completing the square on this first part. Now, similarly, we're going to do the same thing for y. So y squared minus 4y. We're going to want this to be y minus something times y minus something. We have to have the minus in there to get the -4y. Now we need to put these halfway, just like I did here. Half of this went into both of those. Half of this number, which is 2, goes here. So when we do the FOIL, outside and inside, we get the 4y. Now, the last two things is this number that we're going to add. So we add 2 times 2, or sorry, -2 times -2, which is +4. That's the term we add. So up here, we've really added a 1 and a 4. Now, when we do that, we've changed this left-hand side. So we also have to do that same change to the right-hand side. So over here we have to add 1 and 4 as well. So don't forget to do that, because that will give you the wrong radius if not. So in this case, our answer is going to be x minus 1 squared and y minus 2 squared. And our new radius is 4 plus 1 plus 4, which is 9. So actually our radius is 3. Radius is the square root of 9, which is 3. And our center is 1, 2. It's the opposite of these values here. Formula is minus. So that's how you complete the square. All right, moving on to the next problem. The next problem is finding the difference quotient for this problem. That is, they want you to find this is the difference quotient. So we're going to evaluate that in this formula. So this is basically plugging in values and simplifying this expression. So in this case, the first part we're going to plug in is x plus h. So everywhere there's an x, we're going to put in x plus h. So our difference quotient starts off with f of x plus h, which is this thing, f of x with x plus h in it. So it's going to be -2. Instead of x squared, it's going to be x plus h squared. And plus, instead of x, we're going to have x plus h, because we're plugging in x plus h for every value. So this f of x plus h is this part of the equation. We put in x plus h everywhere there's an x. Now the second part of the difference quotient is the subtraction of f of x. Well, f of x is this formula with x in it. Well, it's already written with x in it, so we're just going to copy it down. So with x in it, it's negative 2x squared plus x plus 1. Now we're subtracting it, so there should be a minus sign in front of the whole thing. And then our denominator is h. So this is the difference quotient, and all we have to do now is simplify the difference quotient and reduce. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to simplify and reduce this. So this is the correct difference quotient, it's just not simplified or reduced. So let's do that. So first part is we do parentheses first. So we're going to take this x plus h and x plus h and square it first before we do anything else. Also, I'm going to change the signs on these, so this is going to be plus 2x squared minus x minus 1. So we change all of those signs, and we're going to simplify this using FOIL. So to do that, I'm going to multiply that out. So we're going to get x squared plus xh plus another xh plus h squared. And then we have x plus h. I can take the parentheses off that. I don't have to change that sign. Plus 1 plus 2x squared minus x minus 1. Copy down. I have one more step of simplification, and then we can combine like terms. So we're going to multiply this out. We get negative 2x squared plus, actually it's minus, because we're multiplying by negative 2. So we get minus 2xh, and then we're going to have a minus 2xh minus 2h squared plus x plus h plus 1 plus 2x squared minus x minus 1 equals all over h. And now a lot of things reduce. We could have done this earlier. What ones cancel out, negative x's and the positive x cancel out, the negative 2x and the positive 2x cancel out. So we're left with a few terms here that can be reduced and combined, which are, these two can be combined into negative 4xh minus 2h squared plus h are my three terms left over. And we can factor out the h on the top and reduce. So we have negative 4x minus 2h plus 1 over h. And we need to reduce these two h's, and our answer is negative 4x minus 2h plus 1 in completing the square. Alright, we're going to pause here, and we'll continue with the next video on the next few problems.